It's K-Poi 1059, the Big Kahuna, Honolulu's only classic rock. Dave Lawrence with you, and today we get to speak with the artist I've probably known the longest in my very short career. He is a legendary guitarist, singer, and songwriter, widely credited with helping revive the Allman Brothers Band when he joined them in the late 80s. Except for a few years in the mid to late 90s, he's been a driving force in their legacy since. He's back with a catchy new song and album with his project, Government Mule. You've been hearing it a ton on the radio. We've been proud to play it for you. The record is High and Mighty, and after sharing experiences with him on many tour buses and recording studios, radio stations, parks, hotel rooms, sometimes in the company of Greg Allman and even the late, great Alan Woody, it's a pleasure to welcome back for his third appearance with me on 1059, Allman Brothers Band, Government Mule guitarist and vocalist Warren Haynes. Aloha, Warren.
Hey, man, what's happening?
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm very good.
How long you been out there now?
In September, we marked my 4-year anniversary here.
Wow.
I know. It's good to have you back on the show. I'm good, man. How are you?
Wonderful. Everything's great.
And out touring with the Mule now, huh?
Yeah, we're just kicking off our West Coast tour, we're really excited. We're going to be promoting the new record for quite some time.
Well, it's a special time for you, certainly, here on 1059, while we don't have the Mule coming, and we'll try to talk about that later on.
Yep.
Because we have here on the station two of our biggest current classics, as we call them, have recently been a live Derek Trucks Band track and You're Mr. High and Mighty from Government Mule. And I think it's just irony, I don't know what the right word is, coincidence, that two solo Allman cats have our hot new tunes.
Well, it sounds like kismet. Sounds like a good thing to me.
Yeah, dude. It's I've been digging into your record a bunch, and there's a lot of what I see as like self-analysis on this record. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. I tend to create characters that in some ways can be based on myself, and in some ways can be based on other people, and fictitious blends of people, but yeah, I think there's some soul searching going on with this record.
And because you and I, you mentioned the composite aspect. The last time you were part of the show, we had a very lively interaction based on Slackjaw Jezebel. And
yep.
and some of the insights. So I was looking at these lyrics very closely, and I wanted to just figure out how to approach this with you, because I spent a great deal of time now looking at the record, and quite honestly, it has a very cynically autobiographical quality that is in some ways not unlike Tales of Ordinary Madness lyrically.
Yeah, but I think further down the line, looking at it from a new perspective,
Correct.
From a different perspective.
More experienced perspective.
Yeah, some of the, it varies from song to song, although there's a lot of thematic similarities, but I think, some of it's a little jaded, some of it's humorous, some of it is just straight up analytical, but it's, I think I went into some different places lyrically and musically with this record that we've never gone before.
Very dark, personal places that I don't think I've ever heard before.
In some cases, but then in some cases there's a lot of hope, like some of the songs like So Weak, So Strong, which are very much about vulnerability and weakness, but also are about hope and strength, So I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel,
Is Steph in some way an inspiration in So Weak, So Strong?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that the central inspiration?
Yeah, I think so. I think my wife is the biggest inspiration for that song, and probably for Child of the Earth as well. And both of those songs are written about, your soulmate that you share your life with.
You can draw patterns between what you're saying throughout the record. And
yeah, but having said that, Dave, at the same time, I think writers tend to always parallel themselves with whatever they're writing about. So even if it's not about me, I'm going to seep into it somehow. You know what I mean? And but that particular song, not as much as some of the other ones.
Okay.
And I tend to do that quite a lot, which is not rare in a lyrical sense. I think a lot of people create their characters that way, and I obviously have plenty of colorful people around me to be influenced by. And I have an interesting perspective, going town to town and living the life that we live, there's always something to write about.
Colorful people is an understatement of the folks around you, brother. How the hell did you grab the vocab word psychophantic? That's a...
That might be a creative. I might have taken some creative license with that word. It's a combination of sycophant and psycho. So it's kind of making up my own word out of those two words.
Rewriting the English language, ladies and gentlemen.
Which we obviously have the creative license to do. I'm not the first to do that. I actually want to ask Steve Miller next time I see him what pompatus means. He wrote about the pompatus of love, and I still don't know what that means.
No, there's some great ones out there, and certainly you have added to it yourself with a wondrous multisyllabic one, psychophantic, and then following it with tirades. You're such a great lyricist, Warren. You're wonderful. When the book comes out, man, is that thing going to be? It's going to be well written, and it's going to be really insightful because you can really write. So.
Well, if I decide to ever go there based on the fact that most of the stories are X-rated, people always ask me, "Are you going to write a book?" And I go, "Well, I'd sure make a lot of enemies if I did, because I'd have to tell the truth."
I'd be willing to bet eventually you're going to be doing a book. That's my prediction. You got enough stories to tell for sure. And it is Warren Haynes of the Allman Brothers Band and Government Mule with us. Warren, let me throw down one of these current classics from High and Mighty, the new Mule record, and then we'll talk some more. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
Let's hear Brand New Angel, Government Mule, a current classic. We'll debut it now from their High and Mighty CD on KPOI 105.9, The Big Kahuna. Brand New Angel, Government Mule, current classic on KPOI 105.9, The Big Kahuna, Honolulu's only classic rock, out now on their High and Mighty CD. And Government Mule, Allman Brothers Band guitarist, vocalist Warren Haynes, my special guest today. And Warren, you had a really jam-packed year with Allman Brothers Band and Government Mule tours. And one gig you did, I was hoping that you'd tell us about. It was an Allman Brothers Band show from one of the 14 sold-out nights at New York's Beacon Theater, and it was the one that Gary Rossington from Skynyrd sat in. And you ended up singing Simple Man with the Allman Brothers Band backing Gary. I'd love to hear anything you want to share about that show and how Gary Rossington came to be part of the Allmans that evening.
Well, I've been friends with some of the Skynyrd guys for a long time, and of course, the Allman Brothers and Skynyrd have a lot of similarities in their audience and a big parallel. We had done this tour together, and Gary had told me on the tour that he had heard Government Mule's version of Simple Man that we recorded for the Skynyrd tribute record, and he really liked it, and so then a few weeks later, or whatever it was, maybe even a few months later, we were back at the Beacon with the Allman Brothers, and Gary was going to be in town being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I got a phone call from a friend of mine who's one of their managers, and he said, Gary's going to be in town. I think he'd love to come up and sit in with you guys. And I was thinking, well, I wonder what would be a good song. So we came up with the idea of doing Simple Man based on the fact that he loved that version that he heard us do. So we did just a brief rehearsal of it with the Allman Brothers, and no rehearsal with Gary. He just winged it. Of course, he wrote it. But I sang it, and we just kind of played it in a very spontaneous way. And something about the Allman Brothers covering Skynyrd at the Beacon with Gary Rossington was just a very poignant, special moment for the audience.
Dude, just we got to get because you can buy those with that thing, right?
We have what they call Instant Live CDs.
I got to get that
you,
thing.
You can get a CD of the whole show.
Yeah, I got to get that. And then there was another one during this. Warren's talking about this 13, 14-night run at the Beacon that the brothers do every March in New York City. And there was another, was it that night that Frampton was there with you? And
yeah, Peter Frampton had sat in with Government Mule a few months earlier in Cincinnati, and he had called me about appearing on his new CD, which I did. He has a new CD out.
Fingerprints, excellent.
Yeah, and it's a really cool CD, and he came to New York, and we recorded the song Blues, Blooze, together. And it worked out where we could go in the studio the day after he sat in with the Allman Brothers at the Beacon, which happened to be the same night Frampton sat in.
Man, oh man, Warren. I mean, just the Cats, just for listener purposes alone, when people, I mean, these are names you can hang your hat on, you know, and have two of them come down, making that show that much more special.
It was a great show. It was a great night. But the whole run was really special, but that night was one of the more special ones.
It's quite a bit different than, say, back in '93 when Zakk Wylde filled in that time.
Yeah, quite a bit.
You remember that thing?
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Do you ever run into him? Have you ever run into him?
I have seen him since then, but it's been a while.
Is there anyone left that you really aspire to? I mean, you've jammed and had opportunities throughout your career that are really special like that, and been a part of so many musical collaborations, and are widely respected as being not only a really nice guy, but someone who's so talented you can plug him into just about any situation. Is there anybody that you're like, man, I still really wish I could do this thing with?
Well, I've still never played with B.B. King, which would be a great honor for me because he's one of my heroes. I had the opportunity when I first joined the Allman Brothers. We did a show together, and he invited Greg Allman out to sit in during one of the songs, and then he went up to the mic and said, any of the other Allman Brothers band that want to come out and play, come on. But I was really new at that time and barely knew him, and I kind of just was a little too shy and didn't go take advantage of the opportunity. I've always regretted it. So the next time that opportunity arises, I'll be there.
B.B. King.
I've also never played with Eric Clapton or Jeff Beck or Jimmy Page or Carlos Santana, although I've met all those people and had conversations with them. And Carlos and I have talked many times about doing something together, so I think that'll probably happen. But the list is getting shorter because, I've been doing this a long time and been very fortunate to be able to play with a lot of the people that I grew up listening to.
Tony Iommi, I still haven't heard that one come through yet.
It hasn't happened, but I would obviously do it if it happened.
I know you would. And maybe the Clapton thing, maybe we'll keep our fingers crossed that next year at the Beacon, well, because of the Derek thing, we'll hear that the Clapton comes out on stage with you guys. Yeah,
you never know.
Well, when are you going to visit us in Hawaii? That's your final thing. That's your mission that I want to put you on. You going to come and do something with us?
Yeah, we're talking about that now, trying to figure out a good package or a good reason to come to Hawaii and play. I think it would be great. I mean, Mule played not in Maui, which is where I go when I stay in Hawaii, but we played there once in Kauai a few years ago. But it's been a while. It was before you got there, I think, Dave.
Yeah, I think it must have been. I got here in 2002.
Yeah, no, we played there with Alan Woody before he passed away.
Yeah, obviously.
In 2000.
Okay.
But we definitely want to come back, and it's definitely something that we've talked about a lot. So I think you'll see that happen.
And just even if you're visiting the island, if you're visiting the state, Warren.
Well, we can make that happen because I'm hoping to come back maybe even as early as January.
Well, that would certainly be something I dig, man, if you're in the area, to get you over here and be on the show. We'll work on that one.
Yeah, man, that'd be good.
And in the meantime, everyone can keep up with the Mule at mule.net online. Fabulous website, mule.net. And look for the new Government Mule CD, High and Mighty, in stores now. Allman Brothers Band and Government Mule, guitarist and vocalist Warren Haynes. A pleasure, brother, having you back on the show.
Yeah, man.
And we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely. Aloha, this is Warren Haynes of the Allman Brothers Band and Government Mule, and you're listening to the right guy for sure, my good friend Dave Lawrence. Aloha, this is Warren Haynes of the Allman Brothers Band and Government Mule, and this is definitely my favorite time of day. Hey Dave, it's 4:20.